It is PKN 137.
All right.
Oh, so before the show started,
All right.
we were talking about. I was totally interested in this. So right now, I think if I'm on target with this, the House and the Senate both signed a bill, so it's going to the president. I think that's where we are on it, and it allows ISPs. That's like your Time Warner, your AT&T, like whoever you get your cable modem from, to sell your data and that like your browsing activity. So they're going to know like what pages you look in, all the things you type, all the search strings. They're going to know like anything that happens in clear text. But, are you hanging on Facebook? Are you hanging on YouTube? Which videos are you watching? All your browsing history can now be sold. And of course, there's advertisers who are just chomping at the bit to to get this kind of information. I was talking about it with Taylor. Taylor has a marketing degree and some expertise in this that I don't. And I'm like, man, like my initial reaction is this is disgusting. This is real This is pretty much wiretapping my phone. It's a modern day phone calls, wiretaps that are getting sold to advertisers to figure out what I might want to do. Like it's everything about me. And probably a lot of people, your browsing activity. But
we need our own ISP.
So we can sell data.
We need privacy ISP, and like we don't sell your shit. Like we don't care what you're up to, dark web, deep web, kiddie porn. Like we keep your shit private. That's what we do here.
Ticket back like 2 on that dial. Got a great place.
See, you ticket back, we don't get any headlines. This way, everybody's talking about us, and then the moderates move to our side.
So what did you name the company?
The privacy ISP.
Oh, I was going with PKA ISP.
Yeah. Sure, okay.
That'd be PKIPS.
PKIPS.
That's a nice acronym. Okay.
Maybe the child porn thing goes a little far, Kyle. But I know that you're very black and white, all or nothing.
Only if it's animated. Only animated kiddie porn. That's all we let through the PKA ISPs.
I'm super interested in what Trump is going to do with this bill, right? And he hasn't talked about vetoing it or anything, but I have he ran on this I am the politician for the people print. That was one of the things he said. When he did his inauguration speech, so much of it was like the people are taking back the White House, etc. This, in my mind anyway, is a real defining moment on whether he's one of those corporate sellout politicians where, Time Warner just donates money to your campaign and then you vote for things that make them money. Or, and the whole thing about Trump not being beholden to these special interests, to my knowledge, he's not on this one. I mean, like
they added up the total amount of lobbying dollars that that had been pushed to get this thing through. It's only like $9 million. It immediately made me start thinking like, shit, Reddit would have came up with $9 million if we could have pushed a politician.
I was thinking about that exact same thing. The amount I saw that one person got bribed for like $650,000.
Yeah,
and
I was
like, it's almost baffling. Where it's like, holy shit, that is so much given away for this little pittance. Like, honestly, if you're a senator or in the House or whatever the fuck, if you started a Patreon page with goals at "I will vote how you want it," you will rake in so much fucking more than these lobbyists nickel and diming you.
Welcome to Rand
what Taylor's saying.
People Patreon page.
I totally $650,000 is a lot of money, but with regards to the value of what they're getting here, oh my gosh, like politicians are so cheap. They're cheap.
It's unbelievable.
The return on investment is outrageous.
It is like they sold their soul to learn how to play the fucking banjo or whatever the hell it was.
Brother, where art thou?
Fiddle. Yeah, like it's so little of a return that it's almost insulting. That it's like, God damn it! Like if you had taken a $20 million bribe, I'd be like, all right,
what you
I might
do?
Have trouble going there.
Yeah,
$650,000. It's like you make a third of that in the year. Like you're gonna be fine. I don't know. It's just this may be a stupid tech question. Does a VPN affect this at all?
It does.
If you go, it does. Okay.
Yeah. If you're going through a VPN, so a VPN does two things. But basically, to the ISP, it just looks like you're talking to a VPN, and then all that things that you're saying to it are encrypted. So without a VPN, it looks like you're talking to Facebook and YouTube and childporn.com. With one, you're just talking to a VPN, and everything you're saying is garbled. So it would be a way to get your privacy back.
Yeah.
I bet those are gonna. I mean, you can already go and buy those for like a couple bucks a month. Those are probably
absolutely. I remember
exploding in popularity
when they were
now.
talking about unlocking the San Bernardino iPhone, which they eventually did. They found a third-party company to do for an undisclosed amount. We still don't know who did it or how much it cost to get done. Our government just found someone somewhere who did it for some money. That's all we know. So whenever that happened, there was talk of like, oh shit. Well, the iPhone and the Android are crap now. If you have anything you want to keep private, and so there was a company advertising these phones, which their main selling feature was that they were encrypted to some X amount of digits, right? Some uncrackable amount of encryption. Like, oh yeah, you fucking text your mom and Bush couldn't get in here if he wanted to. Nobody can get in here. So maybe something like this will come along for ISPs, because there are people who value their privacy who aren't criminals or like doing something nefarious. They're just like, it's my private business.
I hope
Stay
they
out of
shoot
there.
it down, because it seems like
It's-
every couple years there's a new thing where it's like, hey, we're losing some more internet freedom, and every time there's a big hullabaloo, and in the end it's just like, we're doing it anyway. And then they just do it. Like it seems like the last, like, maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but it seems like the last like 4 or 5 times that one of these big bills got brought up, the whole internet's like, this is ridiculous, we're gonna riot. And they're like, actually, nope, now fucking Amazon can know all this about you. And people are like, well, I do buy a lot from Amazon.
One
Well,
got beaten.
my
like,
Amazon purchases will be more streamlined.
was it
But hey,
Copa
will.
or SOPA or something? It was a big
HIPAA?
deal.
HIPAA and SOPA, I think. That was a few years back.
HIPAA, I only know of that as the medical one, right? But
That's HIPAA. PIPA, PIPA is
Oh,
what
is-
it was, I think.
but I remember that got defeated, and then they instantly they're like, oh yeah, I know you didn't like SOPA. Check out COPPA, and it's like the same fucking thing, and everyone was like, what? No, it's the same thing. And then that got down, and probably when I wasn't looking, it got passed. I don't know.
They probably, all they do is
Yeah.
they're like, all right, we tried to be a little too straightforward. We're going to put something in here about being against child rape and child porn. And then anyone who's against it is a pedophile. Okay?
Yeah.
Everybody on board? All right, great. Like, it's anytime I see a bill named like the Anti-Child Pornography Act or the Anti-Savage Beatings for the Homeless proposition or whatever it is, it's like, no, that's not what it's about. It doesn't take you 600 pages to say, if you see a homeless guy, don't savagely beat him for fun.
I
Like,
gave a hobo some money the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, he
I
looked
did
like he
too.
needed it. I gave him a 20. I reached above my my visor, and I knew there was cash there, and there was like a 10 and a 20 I knew, and I was just like, hey, we'll play a little game here. Whichever one I grab, he gets. And I grabbed the 20, and he was like a toothless veteran, and he was like, oh, thank you, young man. Oh,
Dude,
and he was like rubbing it in his hand, like to make sure it was real, or
I feel so
maybe
bad
just
for those vets.
I didn't
Yeah.
give
I
money
don't think
to
so
a
bad.
homeless
Like-
family recently. It's like family's homeless, and their sign had
fam.
grammatical errors, which I didn't like. And but no, actually, more. It said their family was stranged, like the past tense of strange. I didn't even know what they were trying to get at. What is it? Strangled? Is it?
estranged.
No.
Like, what is it?
Yeah, I consider it estranged. There's definitely no e, and it seems I don't know what the but they're
and
poor
that wouldn't help narrow it down that much anyway.
yeah, right.
Like, what, do you have
Asked
a
him,
whole
he's like, no,
other...
no, my family's just strange. I need some money.
Yeah, but past tense. They used to be strange. They're stranged, and I'm like, so I don't know how these poor guys got stranged.
Yes.
But
Yeah, that's a bad message he's throwing out there.
Yeah.
You got to have something good on that sign. When I see that
the-
sign and it says like helpless, homeless, desperate, hungry. When they write that they're hungry, that's what this guy's sign said. It said, homeless veteran need help with
So-
3 lines under it, and underneath that it said hungry with 3 lines under that. And I was like, fuck.
I don't pay any attention to their signs. I pay 100% attention to their shoes and the way their shoes look, because if there is any kind of clever message on that whatsoever, they're probably not that homeless. They're probably low-level homeless, where they're just like out there kind of trying to get shit. They're going to go back to their actual house later that night. If you see like a dejected guy where the shoes look so old and it's just worn through, and you can tell, and the pants, there's a look that pants get when you've worn them for so long that it's never had the chance to reform those lines that you get when you fold them up, and it just looks
formed to his
amorphous.
body.
Exactly. And so you can tell from that. And those people, it'll just say "foo" on their sign because they ran out of energy at D and they're laying there.
That was-
just I hope these people can infer what I want. And they
the
get
couple
something.
I passed, there was a mom and a son. The son was like 22, I'll say. The mom was like 46. They both looked so capable of working. And I'm not.
They are.
They're Epstein Barr.
Unless they're a little too stranged.
I was just like I was looking at him and I'm like, something about the family kind of was heart grabbing, but it was just like, dude, you are so obviously able to work. Just, like, fuck.
That's the real thing. Is like if you look and you see like a homeless group where it's like a dad, you have to assume, and then some little boy or little girl, and then a mom or whatever. It's always, unless they look super like fucked up, you have to wonder, like, what the hell's going on here? Like, you look like you're like 36 and fine, other than being estranged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does that mean you didn't want, like, Subway was hiring, but you thought I might make more an hour on this corner?
You know, I always hear that statistic. They're like X amount of Americans this age or that age don't have $400 or $1,700 or whatever statistic they throw out there to make it look the most impressive. You know, however they bend the
Can't
numbers
come
around.
up with
as
a
possible.
grand. Yeah.
But like, imagine if you're that 36-year-old. I'm inventing a scenario. You know, like. What if his fucking house just burnt down and this guy couldn't afford home insurance? And when his house burnt down, and now he's just like,
Well,
all my
that
money
is
was in my
why.
house. He's
that
like,
is-
I had $600 and it was in there in a big jar in quarter form.
I
That was
hope
my
Taylor's about to say that is why you don't make houses out of cardboard. Go.
No, I was going to say, this is why we need Bernie Sanders in there, making sure that home insurance companies cannot refuse the pre-existing condition of your house already have being burned down. If you assume that insurance is a just-in-case scenario and not a purchasing of goods outright, then you would agree with me entirely. Like, but yeah, really, why don't I don't have a sympathy for that guy. His house burned down and he just didn't give enough of a fuck to have home insurance.
Maybe he couldn't afford the home insurance. Maybe
Then he shouldn't have a
was
home.
So on the edge that, yeah, well, look, I'm not saying that if he had made the best decision at every turn of the path, he wouldn't be in the scenario. Of course, if this were fucking Bill Gates over there,
been
really
falling
thinking
asleep
it out,
smoking.
like turn into Wozniak. Like, what do you think, man? Should I take this mortgage? I don't think you can afford the payments, Bill. Let's rent for a little longer. Like, that didn't happen. Like he got here.
Yeah.
He's there.
You know,
now.
when
Like,
you
shit
buy a
happens.
car, a smart person will look up how much the insurance is going to cost. Because, you might be like, hey, it turns out a Camaro and something else are about the same price. But the insurance can really be a differentiator.
Oh yeah.
I did not look at how much home insurance was when I bought this place. I didn't know. How much do you think it costs?
Let me guess. Hang on. Now, do you?
What is it cover? Do you have flood too?
Now we're talking about like monthly or
No
like
flood, but
biannually?
it's
Like, how
not
are
a
you paying?
risk. Monthly. I was going to a monthly cost.
Oh, I was asking because I know in areas with floods that makes it way more expensive because flood damage is so.
We're like on
I'm
top of a
I'm
hill.
gonna form a good guess on this. Man, is it 35 to 4,500? No, that's crazy. That's too much. It can't be. Is it?
I bet it's $3,000
$4,000
I bet
a month. Like, how much?
No,
is
not
it?
a month. No, not a month. It's between $500 and $600 a month.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I'm just like, that's like,
That's not negligible.
that's not too
Okay,
far
that's
from a
right, mine every
mortgage.
6 months. I was doing the math in my head. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's a mortgage if you lived in a
Yeah.
shittier house.
Yeah, my last mortgage was, I think when we refinanced it to go down to 15 years, and I think at that point it was like $1,200 a month or something. And now we're at that almost in insurance. Well, half of that in insurance. I'm just like, it's like kind of like having a mortgage.
is there any way to get around that? Like, is there any way to like make your house safer and now your insurance costs less? Like could you put in a special kind of wiring, for example, and now your insurance company's like, oh well, shit, you've got super duper wiring. Well, those houses never burn, and it's like, oh, you've got
No,
that
you-
insulation. Well, that's fire retardant.
You
I don't-
definitely can do that. Yeah, you can. If you go to like the, what is it called? I guess just inspector. Like the inspector who comes by, like when you're trying to sell a house, and they'll be like, "Hey, it turns out you need to fucking replace this enormously expensive thing." If I know at least sometimes, because I've known people who flip houses, that you can have them come in and do like all of the safety tippity top stuff where it's like, oh, your fucking water heater is in this way and form and set up this way. So that's way less likelihood it's going to burst and do stuff down here. Oh, this insulation here, way easier. This, whatever the fuck, the unburnable carpet, that's an invention. Let's start that. But like you can actually make it cheaper. And then it's a selling point of being like, hey, this is probably nothing is going to happen that much. It's as safe as it can be. but
I
I don't know how
remember
much it is.
the inspector was just like, all right, yeah, all right, fireplace, fireplace, fire. And at one point, she's like, how many fireplaces? Are there 5 fireplaces? And I think that was part of why it was so expensive, having 5 fireplaces.
Your insurance is going up since this is now technically a manor.
Let me throw it.
Why does this room have 2 fireplaces?
I don't know how much you utilize as fireplaces, but it might be as simple as like if you put like a piece of sheet metal in there, and we're like, oh, these are non-active fireplaces, and then gets placed and then if you want to put a fire in there, just be like, oh, we'll make it active tonight, and then we'll plug it back. But if the house ever burns down, get the fuck in there and put that thing back in the fireplace, because they're coming in to look around.
You got your Clorox.
They're coming in to look around before they pay that out.
Yeah. We use 2 of them a lot. Anyway, so yeah, I really want to know if Trump is going to sign this, like, I'll call it an anti-privacy bill, because I don't feel like he's beholden to AT&T and Time Warner. You know,
I hope. Is it really up to him? Like,
yes.
who is the big guy championing this? Like, do we know? Like,
it's through the House and the Senate, I think. So it literally just needs a presidential signature or veto.
I just mean, like, was there like one politician, like some Republican or Democrat somewhere, who was like championing, like this was their thing?
Do we know who it is? Kyle, do you know?
There were like 256 because they put a list of them in the New York Times. You know, like these are the people who sold you out, America.
That's the vote. The people voted yes on it. But usually there's like a couple people whose name is on the bill.
Or they sponsor the bill.
Yeah. I don't know whose name is on the bill, but probably North Carolinians, because they're the biggest fuckers in the country right now.
North Carolinians. Probably
Kyle?
some Florida man. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kyle. I interrupted you.
No. I wanted to talk about your paramotor race, but should we save that for PKA? Because I got a feeling that's a good story.
I wasn't going to ask about it because I figured save it for PKA.
I almost would rather tell it here.
Because we tracked you online.
The challenge is, so I partnered up with someone who has less paramotor experience than me, and my thought process was like, all right, well, one, I needed a partner, right? There's a race division and an adventure division, right? The race division guys are hardcore, tons of respect for them. They're like, the guys that did it are like paramotoring royalty that, you know, like people there like, oh yeah, when I'm not doing this, I'm out filming for fucking Red Bull in Vietnam, you know, crashing paramotors into each other over the water. A literal thing. And, So those are like the race guys. I was in the adventure division. There weren't that many people in it, fewer than I expected. So it was 3 and 6 in the 2 divisions, 6 in mine. Only one guy finished the adventure division, like if whatever you call finish, but that was me. A couple of them saw the weather conditions and were just like, pop smoke, you know, get the fuck out. It's you know, too scary. Okay, so now we went from 6 to like 4. One guy quit like right away. Another guy, he ended up joining up with us and he crashed on takeoff. So he was out. And then
was it a bad crash? Like, was he injured?
No, he was really mad. He had a very expensive paramotor, like 20 grand. And it was, I heard it was just a total yard sale.
Was it a trike or one more like yours?
It was more like mine, but, okay. It's all like custom form carbon fiber fit in his body and stuff, and
he's the Nightwing. Holy shit!
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't trade with him. I feel like his paramotor was the coolest one back in like
clearly
2013.
It's the most fragile one, which is not a winning.
Or maybe
feature.
he just wasn't that good at it.
It's so expensive. Like,
avoiding radar detection is not your number one goal.
When you break a piece on it, like that piece is $2,000. And anyway, so he was very upset. He looked like he was professionally successful in whatever he did, like just going by his truck and his trailer and his paramotor. So I imagine that he's okay, but so then it was just Laura and I, and it was the last leg of the thing. Like what would happen is like she broke, so we like drove to the next thing instead of fly there, and then we went to like launch from there, but we got split up, so we landed out, and then we drove again when we couldn't fly that leg, and then we were going to fly into the end, and she broke again, and I flew back, and there was a trophy for the like adventure winner, And I had it in my head that it might be mine. Like, I am the only finisher. You know, I know I drove a bunch, but like everyone else has broken or quit.
I'm here.
This kind of victory.
I'm here. That's all that matters.
All races are races of attrition. So they gave it to her, and she won.
Wait, what?
Why did they
How
give
did
it to
she
her?
win?
It said like Adventure Division race winner, and they're like, this is really for whoever exhibits the spirit of the race division the most.
Oh my God! Did you say I'm in my 40s and I didn't get free trophies back then. I missed that whole area, and now I win the trophy, and you're giving it to someone else to make them feel better. And you didn't bring 2 trophies, is that correct? Okay,
Not
so
even
then no.
certificate
I got nothing.
A framed
of
plaque.
merit. So like
Certified
a cartoon
flyable.
paramotoring guy, like in red and blue in the top corner. Like,
I have my
nothing like
memories.
that.
That's honestly pissing me off a little bit that she got the trophy when you were the only one who finished. Like, was it just how? Good God! Like, if participation trophies for soccer in like kindergarten are bad, if I saw through those when they handed it to me, what does this adult think as they hand her this big trophy? Like,
she
is she
looked at
thinking,
me
"Oh my God,
and-
they think I'm
and
retarded."
She was like, I feel like I should split it with you. And I was like, no, you're fine.
You should have taken it and smashed it in 2 right
No,
there. And said,
this
"Yeah, you take the
trophy-
base."
It was made of like 1/4-inch steel. It was like laser cut, and it was it stood up. Like, it wasn't just a plaque, it was like a trophy.
You would have loved to put that thing
Oh
in there
my God.
somewhere.
I
know
would
what?
really
It
have
would
liked to
so
have
much
had.
more to you than this girl. I won't disparage her in any way, but
Yeah,
but,
woman,
but
right,
she's
right.
not putting that on her mantle. She's not displaying that for hundreds of thousands to see.
No.
This is terrible.
You know what should have happened is the guy who gave out the trophies should have been there listening. And then when she said, I feel like we should just split it. And you said, oh, no. I'd rather you have it than any harm come to the trophy. Then he would say, aha! Only the true race winner would want to see the trophy whole than to take half for themselves. And then he would take it from that stupid bitch and she'd go, oh, I've
No,
been
she's very
Sullivan.
nice.
And then it'd be good. So I think
So that's how the race went down. But
and
Shit.
all the trophy stuff aside, like, it was a pretty good experience for me. Like, I flew in rough. Dude, I put up a video on Friday. I'm sure you guys didn't see it, but I'll reenact it. Oh fuck! Oh my God! Oh, it's so bumpy out here. Oh my God! Calm down, Woody. Calm down. Shit that freaked me out like before the race, I'm now flying like hands on my lap, like reading my phone. You know, like
Is there ever a time during the race where you had to like resign yourself to like, I'm gonna crash, and there's no way getting around it, and then you get out of it and you do like that, you know, like when you're in traffic and you have to take a shit, but you get that one final pressure sleeping gurgle and you're like, all right, I'm on my last leg now, but I got some time.
First
Like-
leg of the race. We're flying and I'm fast. I'm flying with Laura and I'm faster than her, right? So she's going and I'm like faster, loop around. Does that make any sense? And I'm running out of fuel. And I'm like, I know that I'm low on fuel. I'm sure of it. I get my phone. I'm like taking a picture of my gas tank back there because I can't see it. And I look at it and I'm like, that's like,
I mean, I can just imagine, like, am I out of fuel? Ka-chick! Ah! Oh, no!
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Well, at least I've got my trusty backup mirror. Oh, God!
so I look at it and I have like 10 minutes of fuel. And that's when I make the decision, like, all right, I'm going to stop flying with her because I'm out of gas, right? Like, I've got a real problem here. And I'm going to go straight to the gas stop and we'll meet up there. The thing is, we had, like, at this point, they moved the checkpoint a little bit. So that's 2 waypoints on my map. And then there were 2 gas stations nearby. So there's 4 waypoints all cluttered together. And this is the area where I needed the most improvement, the planning, the trip. I somehow thought like more information was good. No, I don't know which one of these fucking dots is a gas stop. I'm very confused. So I just beeline for one that I think is a place to stop and run out of gas in mid-flight. And so now I'm like, no. I try to start it. It starts, but it runs for like 5-10 seconds. And I'm out of fuel. There's no fuel left, so I have to land. there's a field and like a row of trees in between. And I want to clear these trees because I can see a road over there. And if there's a road, I can be rescued. Someone can bring fuel to me and stuff like that. And I'm coming at the trees and I'm just like, even now as I reevaluate it, I think I had a 50-50 shot of clearing the trees, right? Which was not good enough, right? For aviation stuff, you really want to be pretty sure that it's going to be
You got to have
okay.
one of those James Bond type pull up at the last second instead of hitting the cliff face kind of moments to get over.
So I, rather than risk hitting the trees, I turn around and I land downwind. And it's windy. This is the windiest day I've ever flown in my life up to this point, up until the day that followed it. And so the wind's going like 15 miles an hour as a tailwind. And I'm already landing at like 10, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't really run 25 miles an hour. So,
very few do.
So I come in and I'm putting my shoes out like they're skis, and I'm sliding like across and I didn't realize how fast I was going until I got to the ground. You know, because at like whatever, even 200 feet, you're like, oh, I'm moving along fine, but whatever.
Just gliding.
At 6 feet, like everything's moving at Mach 1. Yep. And I kind of skied to slow down, and then I started running, and I almost did it perfect. I kind of took a knee, like, you know, like ran, and then like landed on a knee. And I was unhurt, and my equipment was undamaged, so that was fine. But yeah, you asked, was there like a scary time? Yeah, when I ran it. And then I land, and it's cows everywhere. There's cow fields.
Like,
oh, dude. So, and it was the longest walk. It might have been 3/4 of a mile. I carry my wing back, and then, as I'm carrying my wing back,
that sounds so awful.
our support driver, I see him driving my truck. He stops. I take my truck and I retrieve the motor. And as I come back, there's a cop there. This cop was the biggest asshole ever. Huge asshole. Like, I later found out. So he talked to my driver, and he was like yelling at him, you know, like calling him names and just giving him a hard time, even though we're being real kind of like we're backing down. Conciliatory? Is that the right word?
Conciliatory.
But so I'm just kind of being beta with this guy because, you know, he's like, yeah, what you doing now?
Because he's got a gun, and sometimes they want to use it for no fucking reason.
He can just ruin your day.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, for example, it's not trespassing if you emergency land on somebody's property. It's in the FAA defines this, and there are exceptions to it. And so, like, I'm like, look, I ran out of fuel. I'm pointing to a paramotor with no gas in it. And it's like, this wasn't the plan. I was trying to make it to the gas stop. Everything's gone a little crooked today. And he's like, what you doing right now? It's called trespassing. And I was like, I didn't intend to. You know, I won't be doing it again. You'll never see me again. You know, like, this isn't the plan. We're in the world's hardest air race. And but yeah, dude. So when he talked to my like friend, you know, the guy who was driving my truck. Yeah. After that, he sees me coming. So he goes to his truck and he puts on like his sheriff's badge, and it's hanging as a necklace. He puts on his gun. So he got in costume to give me shit. And like, there was nothing I could say that would seem to like settle him down. Like, to me, like, if I'm mad at someone and then they're like, ugh, I'm so sorry. I accidentally dropped out of the sky when my plane ran out of fuel. I did no damage to the land. I'm just trying to leave.
You landed on your feet. It's not like you fucking set a Cessna down in somebody's like rose garden or something. Like you didn't just decimate an acre of corn.
You didn't hit a cow.
I didn't hit a cow. Yeah. And he was just not having it. And so the thing is, when I put my paramotor in the back of the truck, I removed two things, like a big bin full of sleeping bags and tents and stuff, and another one, like a milk crate filled with oil. And like 20 minutes later, I realized it was still out there. So we had to walk back and forth. Like, my watch, it was 25,000 steps. Like, that's how many steps I did. It was so much work.
How many times during that whole couple hour long endeavor, I assume, did you say, this was such a stupid fucking idea? Why did I do this? This was so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. I'm never doing this again. I have my own place I can fly, and I'm going to fly there. Like,
not at all. I was like,
that's good.
So it's the Icarus race, right? It's like, it's supposed to be the world's hardest air race. And I think about that. I'm like, really? Well, actually, like, Air races are probably all pretty easy in general. They just sit there and fly. So
Yeah,
this
yeah,
might
make
be
fun
the
of hot
hardest
air
one.
balloon guys.
Yeah. So it's the world's hardest air race, and I landed in a cow field when I ran out of fuel and I had to retrieve my equipment, and a cop yelled at me, and I'm like, this is the spirit of the Icarus. Like, this is what it was supposed to be. There was another guy. So the first day was super windy, and 7 of the 9 people decided not to fly that day. 2 guys did. One guy flew for 20 minutes and then landed.
And you did not fly that day.
Right. One guy flew for about 20 minutes and landed, and he's a very good pilot. Light years better than me. He's an instructor. He ended up getting second place in the race. But he landed because it was too dangerous. And you should see he landed at a, alligator park. And, yeah, but, he made friends with the people that worked there. They sat him on an airboat and acted like his paramotor was fueling it. They put him on those old timey signs where you pose or whatever. Yeah, they had him on a tree branch. It was, of course, there was a fake background behind him with alligators snapping at his feet and a sign that said "help." But he's wearing his paramotor like he's stuck in a tree. Yeah, it was the greatest para picture ever.
He landed over there amongst some people who thought it was a great thing that he'd landed, and you landed over there next to this douchebag.
yes. But I thought he had a cool Icarus experience too, and he slept overnight. Apparently there's 600 horsepower airboats keeping him up all night as he used his wing as a blanket. And because the race division, they're unsupported. So they have to they didn't have any gear. Yeah.
Do you think the gator farmer saw him coming in and was a little disappointed when he didn't crash in?
A little free food.
Looks like we're feeding the gators again today. Thought we'd save a little money on feed.
It was
have you ever been to one of those places?
This was a tourist trap. I don't know if it's what Kyle's thinking of.
Yeah.
I
went to one where you can't miss it if you've driven through Florida. I wish I could remember the name, but in the front, they have an enormous, gigantic fiberglass, I guess, alligator mouth. And I mean, it's huge. It's big enough to stand in. It's big enough to drive a car up. It's the size of a car. And I think it's the whole head. And maybe it's more of the gator. It's huge. It's this thing. You go in there and they've got a fucking pond full of alligators. And there's not much keeping a person from just hopping right in if you wanted. I mean, just a little chest high fence with chicken wire. You could just hop right in there if you wanted. And they even had people out on boats in the gator pond, so they could get a real good close look at these things. And they're feeding them chunks of raw chicken and stuff, throwing them in there. But they had all kinds of animals in this place. They had wolves and I don't know, anything and everything you can imagine.
This is a restaurant? Or
no,
this is...
no, it's
okay.
it's a gator wildlife adventure.
When I flew over an alligator. There was every time there was a body of water, I was kind of on the lookout for them. Partly because I think they're really neat, but partly because I'm kind of nervous. And if there's an engine out or something, I'd like to know if there's gators.
Don't know.
And there was it wasn't even that big. It was I'll call it a medium-sized gator. Maybe it's numbers dictate that I'll probably find
enough
an average-sized gator. Yeah, that was the thing. They're that gator was 7 feet long at the most. And I used to say that about sharks. Dude. Even a 4-foot shark, right? That takes off half a foot, unacceptable loss.
Nobody would ever say, "Oh, did you hear Tony got hit by a car?" Yeah, but it was a smart car.
Right?
No, that'll still fuck you up.
The Honda.
Well, they might say
you
that.
You put Brock Lesnar there, and you hit him with a smart car going 22 miles an hour, and that's a guy whose career is over.
Mm-hmm.
It's man versus machine's not good, and even more so. The scary thing about reptiles too is If you saw a big cat or something like that, you could almost bank on okay, I got this big thing on my back. It's going to be smart enough to be I've never seen this before.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to dial back, see what happens. And honestly, I'm probably just going to go for smaller food because I'm a cat.
Yeah, the cat would be terrified.
Reptiles are so stupid that they don't have the capacity to reconsider not attacking you. Dude, they are going to attack you. They don't know. That alligator has no idea it's sitting in the sun. It has no idea it even turned to bite you. It's just an autopilot machine.
The locals would disagree with you. If I had a quarter for every time they told me it's more scared of you than you are of it, I'd have $3 just from this weekend. And I'm no, it's more scared of me than I am of it. You dramatically underestimate how scared I am of it.
Yeah. Snuck up behind me, and I turned around, and I had the capacity to go an actual ape and just beat it to death. They'd be like, yeah, for good reason they're afraid of us. We're very strong bipedal apes. Only gorillas are more powerful. But no, we're the weakest apes. Like, thank God they're as dumb as they are. They'd attack us a lot more. Because
they'd be
know,
invading our towns and cities.
Apparently, that response is the wrong. They were telling me how to deal with alligators. They're like, if you see an alligator, don't charge it, don't make a noise, don't try to intimidate it. Right.
Don't try to rape it either. They
say, they're like, just observe it and go the other way. And that's apparently how you handle an alligator, according to the locals. But yeah, so there were tons of alligator infested lakes, and oh my God. So the first checkpoint was on the edge of a really big lake. So I was like, oh, cool. That's a good landmark. It is not a good landmark in Florida. The whole fucking place is lakes and swamps. We flew over so many lakes and swamps.
It looked like the guys who were professionals, though. Mm-hmm. They took these beelines when they were going from point to point. It was and they would even like the way that they flew. One guy flew over the water with the lake. He didn't bisect the lake, which would have been the most expedient path. But he flew over the water.
Cut the edge off and stuff.
Yeah, he cut the edge off.
And they were low too. Land over there. So some people were flying nap of the earth, telephone pole popping up, coming down the whole way because they felt like the wind was lighter. Another guy, if I remember right, discovered a tailwind at 5,000 feet. So he's way up there, just cloud riding, catching thermals and stuff. There was one guy, Curtis. I liked him a lot. I'm going to talk about the other competitors in a second, but my paramotor flies for 2 hours. That's how long it took me to run out of gas. This guy, through what I can only assume is black magic, flies for 7.5 hours at a time. His hobby is to make a triangle when he flies, his flight path, and that triangle should be as large as possible. And that's what he likes to do. So he took a day. The first day when I said only 2 people flew, he didn't fly. Yeah. We went to the beach and played with stuff. And so on day 2, he caught up to both of the leaders. He had motor trouble. Now, I'm not saying he would have won. It's really hard because the other 2 were legit as well. But he joined them. He led the race at one point. And again, leading the race is tricky. Maybe he had led with an empty tank and the other guys had just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was in the lead, obviously in the race, and he had motor trouble. And it would have been neat to see yeah.
Like in NASCAR, when you lead a couple everybody goes into pits to pit, and you're like, just stay out. We need the points.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's how it works. You lead a lap, you get a point or whatever, and those add up over the course of a season, and that's how they keep a race team going.
Plus, you get on TV
you're gonna win.
Stuff.
Just stay out there and get your points.
Yeah, if I'm in 16th and I can lead for a few laps, then I might get coverage for my sponsors. The some of the people in this were paramotoring royalty. And I was so happy with how nice they were. I remember I said we went to the beach. I just hopped in the car with them, and they were paragliding off this high wind. Basically the sand went up a lot, and so when the wind blew against it, it went up, and they were just flying back and forth. Paragliding.
I've seen videos of that sort of thing where they end badly. The guy's flying a little, and you're like, wow, look at him. He's 12, 15 feet off the ground, and then it's and it's he's 80 feet off, 120 at least, and then you see him just he's more sideways than he is up and down, and you just see him getting taken away. It's oh shit, I don't think he's coming back.
That seems like the
these guys' odds ever. Though they're very good, and I was happy they were so nice to me. I was talking about new wings and stuff that they've tried, and Matt Maynard in particular, another paramotoring royalty type guy. All of his stories started with I was doing this one thing in Cambodia for Red Bull, or right. I was working with Ford in Nicaragua, and we did something else, and he's been everywhere. I don't know. He was in a pair of Devin Supertramp videos. So yeah, when you need someone to do cool shit. Oh, he was on a TV series. It hasn't been released yet, but it was all paramotoring. And he's it was going really well and stuff. He's but it's TV, so you need some drama, right? So there's 3 people, paramotorists in it, and he talks with one, but not the other. He's we should totally crash. So in paramotoring, there's a thing where you fly next to each other and touch wingtips. He's we should do that, but instead of going in the same direction, we should go in opposite directions. And they do it, and it's just thoop. All right. And then they get a little closer. Thoop. And now they're taking half collapses and fixing it. And like each time
They're just trying to fall on purpose so that they can get like a shot of like.
They're trying to get some drama.
So in the show, they can be like, a gust of wind came up and Jim's chute has collapsed, and then they play the dun dun dun, and you see his chute collapse.
And there's cameras everywhere. There's cameras on their face, cameras forward, cameras like on the top, cameras pointing at each other. And one of the people doesn't even know that they're doing this. And so they go and they like touch wingtips, and he was going around for the other pass, and all of a sudden he's like, "Where's Stevie?" Stevie's gone. Stevie sunk. And, but he didn't sink, but he's in the water swimming around or something. Yeah, and then the other guy.
They did it over the water.
Yeah, they thought ahead. And the other guy.
It's actually better than land. Yeah, so.
He kind of. And the other guy didn't know, so they got like his genuine reaction.
Not as bad as quicksand, though.
To crashing.
That's worse.
So the leading killer in paramotoring is water. You'd think it'd be the ground, but it's actually water. That's how most people die.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Huh. Yeah, it does.
I hung out with a guy who landed in the water, and he pointed out a danger I didn't really think of. He had a GoPro on his foot, and but it was all tied in with the laces and like really firm and stuff. And he's like, I was able to get myself out of the paramotor, like the straps and stuff, in kind of a hurry, but he was being sort of hung upside down by his GoPro. And he's like, that was the hardest part of getting free, unhooking his GoPro. And you can imagine how those little lines would wrap all in the nooks and crevices. And
yeah, you need a knife, especially like one of those knives that's like a hook, so that you don't have like a big exposed blade. You've got a thing that you can just grab everything holding you back and just get through it with reckless abandon, because you're not going to hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm. They recommend a hook knife to carry. One of my bigger issues is I don't know where I'd put it. Like, I can put a hook knife in my pocket.
They make it like a carabiner. So I would want it fucking right here so I could fucking...
Right.
You could use the same thing. Like, they have those things in right there. Like those little tools that you have in your car for when you get in car accidents where you can cut the seatbelt off of you and break the window or whatever you're supposed to do. They probably have something like that for paramotor. Or maybe that works for paramotoring. Who knows?
I wanted to see, I always said, like, hey, we don't need that. I got my window opener right here. Because we always have a pistol in the car. Right. And we were discussing it, and they were like, do you know how loud a firearm is in a car? And I was like, I don't. We should find out. And so we got in the car, and I was like, yeah, let's just pretend like we're being submerged. And I went, bang, and just shot the fucking wind. It's so loud in a car.
Yeah.
So you were in a junk car of some sort.
That's the first thing I was thinking. Is like, if you're in the middle of a car and like you're going down and there's water rising, you can see the bubble and starting to come in through your AC, and you the last thing you want to do is be discombobulated and deaf as you try.
I wasn't that bad.
Everybody.
It was more like.
You'd be in a panic.
It was a shock to the system. I wanted to know.
I want to say Archer was kind of out of it for a little bit. Are you suggesting that cartoon isn't realistic?
Yes.
I love that they repeat that. Or he's like, it's really bad for your ears. Or like when somebody gets choked unconscious and they let him like sleep. Yeah. He's like, oh, that's really bad for you. Yeah, it is.
And now he actually says to like the bad guys, he's always like, but in all seriousness, I'm sorry. Like, because that's like the one thing he has empathy for. Because it's the one thing that affects him. Because he's a sociopath.
He has an ability to count bullets, right? Something
love that.
Like 6 people shooting all at the same time, maybe fully auto. And he's like, yeah. That guy got 3 bullets left. How do you do that? How do you not do that? Like,
in one episode, didn't he say like, or Lana was like, how did you know that? He's like, I don't know. I think I'm autistic or something. And then he just never addresses it again. I love in that show the continued mystery of, if the new season's out, I don't know because I haven't watched it, but the mystery of like what time era it is, because they never commit to whether it's the 50s and 60s or modern day, because they jump around.
It's an amalgam of them all. They made their own timeline because there are cell phones, I'm pretty sure. But then you got like a lot of stuff that feels like Scarface Miami, sort of like late 70s, early 80s kind of stuff. But then you got Burt Reynolds in there, and there's a lot of like things you can use to try to nail down exactly when it is, and they start conflicting with one another after you do it for long enough. So they've created their own timeline that's just a mixture of all.
They even took an amorphous. God, what was the actor you just said? I'm sorry, Burt Reynolds. They even took like a weird timeline of Burt Reynolds, where it was like that could be him when he's younger, but there's a little bit of gray in the weird Archer animation style there. How fucking old is he? And how old is Archer's mom? How old are any of these people?
Yeah.
Like, is Archer 42, a grizzled vet who just wants to do his own thing, or is he 29? You know,
I think the show is supposedly like in the 80s or something like that, but it seems like Archer's mom was around for like Cold War stuff. You know, she was like doing stuff in East and West Berlin and stuff like all kind of covert shit. So
yeah,
that's what I've always.
There's no answer. So that's it. There's a fandom page, and dude, this is so impressive. I like the quote. What year is it? Right? Like that's how they. But
right.
Anyway, so at one point they say that they mention an alligator attack that happened 2 years earlier. That alligator attack in real life took place in '89, making the show in 1991. However, they go through this thing like Woodhouse has a tontine from Bloody April that's now worth $1 million. He said they invested 1,200 pounds. That would equate to $5,712 in 1917 at assumed 10% interest rates that take 54.19 years to become worth $1 million, placing it in 1971. And it goes on. There's a couple of those. They reference the Danger Zone, which was 1986, et cetera, et cetera. In the end, they say the bulk of the evidence points to it simultaneously being 1973 and 2016.
It's just baffling to me. Like, think about if we took all these people and all the folks who find Shia LaBeouf's flag and we get them in the room and we just weaponize that autism. I'm not joking. I'm saying
about 4chan.
We all we do is just very little direction. We just point them in a direction. Just say, hey, there you go. Maybe some pedophiles in Connecticut running a ring. Maybe not. Figure it out. And they'll just, that autism will take hold and weaponize, and it will find the answers we need to find. Think of how quickly ISIS would be found if everybody in the CIA wasn't just doing their job waiting to go home. If they were like 4chan folks on there like feverishly trying to find it just so they could one-up their fellow agents for not even imaginary internet points, for nothing. Yeah. For a lull. Like... I don't know. I just like,
does everyone know the Shia LaBeouf flag thing?
So for people who don't know, the Shia LaBeouf had the "He Will Not Divide Us" presentation, whatever, that he was going to have going for the full 4 years. It started out just ground level with a camera in a wall and them standing there yelling, "He will not divide us," making everyone uncomfortable, spraying a lot of vinegar, very little honey at those meetings.
Anti-Trump thing.
Very anti-Trump, and people just kept showing up, and they would stand next to Shia LaBeouf and like take off their coat and show like a Pepe shirt, the frog meme, or like they just do all stuff like that until Shia LaBeouf moved it and hid the flag somewhere and pointed up a camera so that nobody could see exactly where it was.
Yeah, like an upward angle. You don't see any background, no landmarks.
You don't know where it is, and then people were like, "Oh, he was spotted this afternoon in New Orleans." And they're like, well, let's look at flight paths and things around there in Tennessee or whatever it was. And they find this fucking flag. Shia LaBeouf, I guarantee, loses it in private. Loses it because he's already dangerously mad. And then he put the flag on a different building on the top, even more sneaky. Didn't let anybody know. And they found that same day. And apparently someone went up there on the roof and was like posting on 4chan at the same time, like, what should I do with it? And it was just like, it's just so funny knowing that like there are people out there that like, it's just fucking funny that they're finding Shia LaBeouf's
the fact
flag.
that they're like
being hurt. No one's being hurt.
A plane went over this flag at 12:16, on a Tuesday. Where were flights at 12:16? Like that limits it down. It doesn't cut much down, but These
are the kind of pranks I like. Not the catch this backpack. That might be a bomb, idiot.
I don't know. I kind of like that too.
That's a little bit funny.
That particular one, not there.
But these ones are better because nobody's being hurt, and everybody can laugh at it. Because even if like you hate Trump more than anything, anyone can look at Shia LaBeouf, this maniac that you have to feel sorry for because he used to be Even Stevens. And that was a good show. As a kid, I liked him in that. And so it is sad to see how far he's gone. But like, it's just madness. Like, why keep setting yourself up for failure? They're going to keep finding these flags, idiot. Like, you could put it on the moon and
why not point the camera down?
Like in a well? Like,
well, like I just pictured in the ground, get an aerial shot of the camera so there's nothing but like flag and field. and it just seems like there's really not a lot
Well,
of.
he
Dude,
wants
there would
to
be
get
some
the
sort of
well,
soil
see, the
analyst.
whole point is that he wants those people. He wants you on camera in front of the flag, like yelling your whatever the fuck anti-Trump stuff. So like, if he's up there, then you can't really see the people. You know, they're like, yeah, we hate Trump too. Where's the
No,
camera?
am I wrong? I'm thinking you put the camera like, 15 feet up, shining down toward the flag, and then it would get the people too. That you could even get like, 50 yards around the flag.
You honestly could do that, and that makes a lot more sense than what they're doing. If they're trying to make it so you'd almost have to pick like concrete or some indistinct ground, because there's someone out there who's like, hey, I'm a geologist, and this kind of clay only occurs in Southern Virginia.
Oh,
Like-
that's
And so-
Portland cement. Recognized it right away.
Like Boogie on last week's show, right? He was like, "Oh yeah, the dirt is this color, that color. It's red where he is now."
Yeah.
There are people like I also sometimes see stuff, and I'm like, I can't say that's North Carolina, but that's my I know by the height of the trees, the look of that dirt, that it's this part of the country and not
Yeah,
anywhere
for
else in
sure.
the world.
Oh yeah. Like when you go down to Florida, it has those trees have a very distinct look. You start seeing like a certain kind of moss that doesn't grow north of a certain level, level, and you start seeing things that are just Florida. Like the land's a lot flatter. It gets the soil's a lot sandier. It seems like there's a lot of pine trees and not as much deciduous stuff down there. But then you get to where I am, and it's a lot of rolling hills and just as many pines as it is deciduous stuff, and gets more rocky and mountainous, and the dirt's red. It's that red clay.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It was a super good weekend.
That's good. I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad I did it. I got a new wing. That's like
Oh yeah, is it the gray one?
A new wing?
No, it's
is that
green.
Which part is the wing of it?
So it's the fabric part above
like
me.
the canopy part up there?
Yeah. It's okay to call it a glider or a wing. Most other things are considered wrong. I called it a kite when I was learning because kiting it is anyway. That's wrong.
Why don't you just like scream like I'm on the rag or like whatever you call it? Like, do they have like chirps?
No, but I
paramotoring?
think I could get that cooking. I
You
think I
should.
could
You
start
need to
that.
talk shit as you're flying over people. What you should have been doing, you know what? I bet one thing you wish you could go back and do is during the race, tell past Woody, hey, stop circling around for this bitch and hightail it. You're going to conquer this race, and you're going to have the trophy halfway back home by the time she lands.
In terms
Like-
of chirps, like we do radio checks, like, hey, can you hear me? Like, there's something wrong. You sound like a faggot.
Yeah.
That's as much as I do.
What's the weather like back there? Slowpoke? Ha 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 ha.
But I have a new wing. I'm still getting used to it. It's way too early to do a review, but so when you first launch, there's something called the inflation, where you kind of pull in the risers and it comes above your head, right? It goes from laying on the ground to above you. I thought I was uncommonly good at the inflation part of launching because I pretty much never fuck it up. Now I have a more advanced wing, and I realize I think my first wing was uncommonly good at being inflated because it took me 3 tries to get in the air. But anyway, I'll get better, and I'll learn to use this advanced wing, and it'll be fun.
I watched a movie last night. I watched that Mark Wahlberg movie, Patriots Day. It's about the Boston bombing.
Oh, how is
it's
it?
really good. John Goodman is in there, skinny John Goodman, which looks really good. Now he looks kind of big and more intimidating and less huge and fat. He looks healthy, like maybe he'll live another 15 or 20 years.
I hope so. He's great.
Excellent. Kevin Bacon's in there. He's some sort of like FBI official, like running the thing. And then Mark Wahlberg is like a police sergeant who's like there on the finish line when the bombs go off, and he's kind of a part of the story throughout. But they move around from character to character. And if you're really familiar with the Boston bombing, and I am, because like I followed that thing from start to finish really closely. I was listening to the police scanners live the night that the MIT officer got shot, and they were running around looking for him. Like you could hear the Boston PD talking about coffee runs and like where to rendezvous to, like, you know, and like no donuts, just coffee, you know, like stuff like that was coming over the airwaves or whatever, the radio. And the movie is excellent. They use a lot of footage from real life. I rented it maybe from Amazon or something for like $6, something like that.
Wasn't sure if it was Netflix. It looks good.
Yeah. Oh, it's really really good. They use so much real footage that you can't get around the gore and the violence of it because they show a lot of the victims legs blown off and
Oh yeah, there's that picture of Boston bombing where the guy's in the wheelchair getting wheeled away
and the guy's
like
holding his femoral artery or what I don't know what he's holding a vein or an artery or something that
it was where like the guy's leg is like blown off almost like if you the peel 'em Twizzlers or whatever, like if you just like peeled like the bottom inch of like one of the big ones, like that's all that it looks like it's almost so like when you see gore in a movie and it's like that's not what a fucking head would look like if it got crushed, or that's not what it would look like if someone's arm get ripped off. If you see this now, you're like, oh shit, like that kind of is what it looks like if somebody gets their leg blown off. It's just little tendrils of flesh dangling down
Very
above the
nasty.
bone. It's like I don't know, it's really sobering to be like we are all just soft bags that can be ruined by such easy, like even the toughest human on earth, we're just a soft bag of brittle bones and so weak, so easily
I watched
broken.
something along those lines. It's called Taking Fire. Are you guys familiar with it?
No.
So it's basically a guy, I think he's just born to be a vlogger, but he's in the Afghanistan war. He's part of the 101st Airborne, the same as Band of Brothers, but they're in Afghanistan. And he just like wears a GoPro and he's in all these firefights and like terrible stuff happens. It's not a reenactment or anything. They took all this footage and then like put it together to sort of tell a story. So it's edited and it's like kind of professionally done, but the footage is all amateur shot. And like, they run across IEDs, 2 die, 1 seriously hurt. And you see like, I don't know, the top guy seemed to be a sergeant or something, and he's arguing about whether to drive people out or medevac them out. And one thing that really hit home was how mentally damaged the people were. That sounds like a term of disparagement, but it's not meant to be. Like they're mentally wounded, they have unseen wounds. And they were just, not the same people. They talk about the struggles they have in their marriage. They talk about like, these guys, I'm not a military person, but it appears that they took this base, it was pretty well fortified, and put it in a valley. So for like a year, all these Taliban guys would just shoot.
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah. Is it called Taking Fire? I thought part of the title was like the name of the valley they were in.
You're thinking of Restrepo, maybe?
I am thinking of Restrepo.
That was pretty good too.
This is like 5-hour long, like it's a series. It's like a mini series. Yeah. And dude, Restrepo even seemed a little more polished. This is just guys, like you could see towards the end, like some of them get careless and some of them get ultra, I don't know what the opposite of careless is.
Cautious.
Yeah, but in a negative way almost,
Hesitant.
like
paranoid.
Yeah.
They're driving and there's like women and children with goats and stuff on the road, and he is fucking flipping his lid. Like, get the fuck out! What the fuck are you? Why do these people think they could be near me at military vehicles? This and that, and other guys are like, whoa, chill, dude. Like you are strung way too tight.
Yeah, those guys have never seen a goat bomb in action.
I hear you.
Yeah, see,
right?
like if someone,
how do you detonate that thing?
I would. Like I'm so.
The detonator. This is an American goat bomb. I can't reach it.
Put it in the top hole.
Tyrone, help me!
Nothing but the one. Yeah. I mean, if I'm so on I just naturally I'm on a high level of stress. I think like
you're just wired that way.
Stresses me out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I think I'm just wired that way. So I if I superimpose myself into that position, I know 1,000% that I would be the dude. Like, what the fuck are you doing with your goats? Get him out of here! Get your fucking goats out of here!
I would not want some women and some goats around my fucking vehicle if I were there. Like I don't know those women. I don't know those goats. All right,
like, you got 1 minute to get rid of your 10 goats. You got 55 seconds to get rid of your 9 goats. Hey, you got 50 seconds to get rid. Oh, they're getting the picture. Oh, I shot the one full of bombs. Like, yeah, I wouldn't. It would be freaky because that like it's not like the children are maliciously gonna bomb you. Like, but they will be not the children. They're not maliciously doing it. Like they've been bamboozled and tricked into it and like forced to do it in a lot of ways. I'm sure they're evil children. I was talking more like children, like actual young, like 5, 6, because they've used like the Taliban, Al Qaeda, ISIS. They use young kids like that unknowingly, being like, "Hey, go talk to soldiers or something," and then they just blow them up. Like, so you got to understand that paranoia. It's totally.
So there was one guy. His name was Kyle something, and he was in the front of the truck, and part of his responsibilities was to spot IEDs. He didn't. 2 people died, and he got hurt. They didn't detail his injuries, but I know he had to relearn to walk, and when you see him walk, his gait was off. Like the way
he didn't learn too well.
and when he, at the end, the soldiers met each other, and he always hugged with one arm, but I saw him use the other arm, so let's just call it he had limited use, right? Pretty hurt, right? He's not walking normally, and he has one arm that doesn't work well. Dude, first of all, they didn't, like, as you're watching this, you don't know, but afterwards they went back and like looked at the IED carefully. Unspottable. I mean, it was like a fishing line dusted with dirt and stuff. Like it was not a thing that you could.
Perfect one.
Yeah, that was my question.
He did not do a bad job.
Was there a big red Acme box over there?
Right.
Like a guy standing with a plunger and another guy with his fingers in that guy's ears.
There was one thing, kind of, sort of. There are rock slides everywhere, right? Apparently rock slides are mega normal where they are. Well, there was a rock slide next to the IED, so it kind of increased the chances they would drive on it. Maybe a perfect person would have been diligent, or maybe you can't be diligent at every flipping rock slide next to this road. I don't know. But it was really messing with his head because 2 people died, and he held himself super responsible for it. He had the survivor's guilt, and the other people didn't know that he was suffering like that because he went home. He was too injured. And you saw him learn and get some relief from the knowledge that he didn't fuck up. And I
bet that was cool.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Taking Fire. Taking Fire. It's deep.
Yeah, I finally got around to watching some deep things, I guess. The first part of Made in America, the O.J. Simpson story. So I saw the drama that had, actors portraying O.J. and everybody, but there's a documentary that begins with talking about the civil rights movement, and they sort of like give you an idea of what the atmosphere was. They talk about O.J.'s sports career, like beginning in college and going all the way up. And they're like, this guy, they show that this guy's more popular than Muhammad Ali or any of the other black athletes of his day, because those guys took hardline stances on race. And there was those runners at the Olympics with the raised fists and stuff, and the Black Panthers and the Black Power movement. And you had OJ being like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. And he said that repeatedly. And there's one part where they tell a story about a thing that happened, and OJ's in a restaurant with some other black guys. And someone audibly says, "That's O.J. Simpson over there with those niggers." And someone asked O.J., like, "Doesn't that offend you? Isn't that terrible?" And he's like, "Oh no, don't you see? They didn't even think of me as a black person. They just saw O.J." And like time and time again. Time and time again, you get that. I don't even
realize I'm black.
That's what it was. I swear to God, that's what it was. And OJ had that in his head, and it became real. And every step of the way, when they show, anytime he'd get into a little spot of trouble, or anytime he had an opportunity, he got it or got out of it because he's OJ. He's not black. He's not white. He's just OJ.
He's a professional athlete. Yeah.
He'd be orange, right? He's OJ. Okay, never mind.
Just OJ. Yeah, he's the juice, but anyway, this thing is like 3 hours long, and it's part one. Part one was 3 hours long, and it just gets you up into the point where Nicole Brown Simpson divorces him for reals. But they go through all of his abuse of her up leading to that, and the police reports, and they've got the cop in the thing. He's like, "Yeah, I drove up to the gate. She runs out in a bra and like sweatpants. He's gonna kill me. She hugs me. I tell him, you're under arrest. Go inside and get your pants on." He gets in his car and leaves. And that was the end of it, pretty much. They didn't. If you did that, Woody, he'd been like, "We got a runner."
Yeah.
safety cars chasing you through a city. Like they'd have had a SWAT team involved. No, the juice left, and they're like, well, hey, he's fast. It's hard to catch.
Yeah, it's kind of his thing.
2,000 yards in a single season. And they had lots of moments that made him seem like such a gracious, kind person. You know, whenever he finished up that season with the Bills, and he had broken the single season rushing record, I think, like 2,000 yards. He bought everybody on the offense a gold bracelet that said, "We did it." And then the number isn't 2,000, it's 3,336, which is what the team rushed for that year. And so like when they go to interview him post game right after he breaks both of these records, he's like, no. Only way I do the interview is if the whole offense comes in with me. And like they're like, OJ, you did it. You did it. And he's like, we did it. Let me introduce you to my team. And he's like, he goes through the whole team, and it's like all these moments of him seeming like such a great guy. And then you boil it down, and it's like, oh yeah, but he just beat the shit out of Nicole. And
He's
like,
great
and
at PR. He'd make a good YouTuber.
I think they even nailed why he was an abuser and why he had that temper. His father was gay. I've never known that before. And they've got like multiple witnesses that explain
his father is gay.
His father is gay.
I don't think that makes you an abuser.
OJ didn't like that very much. And once while they were in Hawaii, a homosexual man, I don't remember if he kissed OJ's son or put his hand around him in some sort of like, oh, hey, little man kind of way.
OJ's son or his dad?
OJ's son. This happened to OJ's son while they're in Hawaii. OJ beat the fuck out of Nicole because she let that homosexual get too close to his son. He had a real thing about that. And Nicole asked a family friend who was a cop who knew about abuse. He's like, do you think that the reason OJ beats me is because his dad is gay? Could that be it? And he's like, I don't know why he beats me. You know, like OJ just loves beating you. He just,
That's OJ.
Did you hear the thing about OJ and the Kardashians and how
he's Khloe Kardashian's father?
So,
really? Oh, is that a thing, or did you make that up?
That's a thing.
Here's the one that I know. So,
which one's Khloe?
The
one that looks like a fullback.
The Buffalo Bills barely lost a game in 1970 by missing a bad pass for a touchdown. That touchdown allowed them to get the first pick in the draft, O.J. Simpson. O.J. stays in Buffalo for a while and meets his wife, and then he allegedly kills her. Then he hires the Kardashians' father to be his lawyer. They win the case, and the Kardashians become somewhat famous, and then Kim drops the sex tape and becomes actually famous. It all went down because the Buffalo Bills lost a game.
That's not true. He met her in L.A. She was a waitress.
Not according to the internet.
I choose to believe the internet article.
Yes.
She was a beach girl. Her whole family lived in L.A. That was one of the reasons she stayed with us, because OJ was propping up her whole family. Everybody was getting jobs and opportunities because of OJ.
What do we have here?
This is your outfit?
A graduate.
Yep.
Is there anything special about it? Like ropes
Any
or things that other
special
people don't have?
Not
Dangling.
yet. I get my cords
Appendages?
like right before graduation.
All right, so this is the slacker uniform. She'll be getting her cords and achievements later.
Everybody gets one of those.
Yeah, that's the stock
National
one.
Honor Society,
They give one of those to
International
fucking Jimmy
Thespian
and-
Society and National Speech and Debate Association, which
So
is another honor society.
3 cords.
3 honor societies.
I think that's a little gaudy. Maybe stick with 2.
He thinks that's
Yeah.
gaudy, and you should stick with 2.
Oh, wow.
It is. Nobody likes a braggart.
Should have told
You
me
know.
that a couple years ago.
I
will.
Did I told
Anyway,
you guys about the
congratulations.
guy
Thank you.
that I went to middle school with that instead of getting
Let's see if I can
that he got a participation trophy for middle school. Did I tell you that? So when I was in middle school, one of my buddies, Joe, I knew the whole time in middle school that he was doing shit in school and he didn't care. He didn't give a fuck. And that always baffled me because I was so anal about stressing out over that shit, even the stuff that didn't matter in school. And he got... We went through the whole thing, 8th grade graduation before high school, and you get your little BS, you graduated middle school, woohoo, the plaque, and I got mine that said, congratulations on graduating middle school, woohoo. And right afterward, we were all standing in our little group of friends talking, and Joe came over and was like, hey, look what they gave me. And he handed it to me, and it was they're all in that little booklet, where you open it up and you see your little certificate, and he opened his up, and it had the exact same font, so they still had to get it printed at whatever fucking Kinkos they used, and it just said, "Thank you for participating in 8th grade," and then his name. And it was like, oh my God, like that is so much meaner than just not letting him walk. Like making him walk and then giving him that and saying, if you want to start high school next year, we'll see you tomorrow.
And that's our graduates for 1994. And now, Jimmy, who tried real hard. Our best effort diploma goes to you, Jimmy.
Oh, if they had a best effort one, they wouldn't have given it to him. Like they would have been like, they don't print try harder next time. They only print thanks for trying. And so that's what we gave you. Don't think we mean it. We don't. You didn't try and you didn't fool us. Like that. Oh, that was so funny. But that's something that like, I don't know.
Did they let
that's
him go
something that's what?
Ninth grade? They let him move on. Did he move on to high school?
Yeah, he had to do an obscene amount of schoolwork that summer, and then ended up like, and it was so stupid. Like I was glad that happened to some people because he was not the only person that happened to that year.
I don't know if I ever told my summer school story. We should save it for PKA. But yeah,
save it. Yeah,
I went to summer school.
I'll need to think about it. I never had to do summer school.
Of course not. Only the fucking idiots did.
I did one. I did one class.
Oh.
I had failed a class, and so I had. And
Let's
I was
save
like,
it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
Yes,
save it.
I actually want to save that too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, mine was.
Make a note of that.
Mine was so. Yeah.
Of our summer school.
I like instead of it like interrupting or like pinning it. I thought that worked well. And then when you're like, Kyle took the pin out. Yeah.
Yes, I like that too. So let's put a pin in the school stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and no good summer school stories, but I'll think of a summer camp story or something. We'll have a thematic episode.
Which you smart kids did.
Yeah.
I definitely have.
All right.
Space camp.
Let's call it a show.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. PKN episode 137. Good times.